Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Butt Fumble Sports Daily Show. If it's 12 o'clock on the East Coast, it's time to talk sports with Butt Fumble Sports. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. It is Thursday, July 13th, and we hope, we pray, we say to the sports gods, may this be the last day of 2023 in which we don't have sports. Because there's no baseball today, there's no WNBA today, there is nothing today. This Thursday is the quietest sports day of the entire year. Feels like a flashback to COVID, when it is just us wishing there was sports on, rather than anything to bet on, anything to focus on. So if you're a sports fan, this is the ultimate day of silence. This is a fasting of sports fandom, but we will do our best to get through today's show. We have our NASCAR expert joining us. He's break down the race this Sunday up in New Hampshire. We're going to break down the ESPYs last night. I gave some reactions out in a rant video I put out yesterday, but I'll give you some more of my thoughts on the ESPYs broadcast, how ESPN did, what did we think of the award winners. Also, have a few topics I have to rant about today, because boy, did they get under my craw. Number one, the Yankees have a sponsor on their jerseys. Are you kidding me? New low for the New York Yankees. And if you're not a Yankee fan, means it's a great day. But the Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009. And now, not only do they not have a World Series, unfortunately, they now have a sponsor. So brutal. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We're going to talk about the Yankees, ESPYs. The Cardinals are now sellers. The Cardinals general manager has come out and said the Cardinals are going to be sellers. So Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, and more maybe on the trade block. Should be a really good opportunity for some teams in contention to snag a couple of MLB stars. And with the trade deadline only a few weeks away, it's starting to get out there. Shohei Ohtani and the number one team that it sounds like is gunning for him. No surprise here, the New York Yankees again. But do the Yankees have a farm system that would actually bring back Shohei Ohtani, even on a rental? Might be more complicated than you think. We'll get into that. James Harden refuses to play for the 76ers and demands to be traded to the Clippers in what is our daily segment. Why does James Harden suck so much? Clearly now it's about his insistence on leaving Philly for LA. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And we will do a mock draft for all of you fantasy football owners who want to get ready for your fantasy football league. We will do another mock draft today, so make sure you're staying around for that. Appreciate all of you guys joining us every single day across TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. I hope you guys are having a fabulous day. And again, today is a moment of silence day. Today is when the curtain is down on the sports world. The day after the ESPYs is usually when there's absolute silence. There is no baseball. There's no WNBA. There's no college football or NFL camps. There's nothing. Today is a day to be with your family, to take out your loved ones, to see the wife and kids that you're not going to see for the remainder of the year. Because once sports gets rolling in the fall, families go out the window, sports becomes everything. So if you haven't taken your wife out in a little bit, if you haven't seen your parents in a little bit, if you haven't seen your friends in a while, today is that one day, because baseball starts back up tomorrow. College football and the NFL is on the horizon, so you might as well be a good human being today. It's your last opportunity to be a good human being until the end of 2023. Hope you guys are having a great day. Frost FM, hope you're having a good one. No matter the platform you're watching on, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, or obviously TikTok Live, share your comments, share your thoughts on the sports world. What did you think of the ESPYs last night? Any beef with the winners? What did you think of Pat McAfee? LeBron James is not retiring. Get the breaking news banner out. If you're Bleacher Report or ESPN, I'll definitely dive into my thoughts on LeBron James' speech, his fake retirement little montage there or monologue. We'll talk about all of that as well. So make sure you're sharing your comments. Let me know what you guys thought. When it comes to a TV production, I feel like ESPN certainly has the ESPYs down. I won't say it's without its cringe moments. I know a lot of those out there on social media. Love Livy Dunn of LSU gymnastics fame and obviously from social media fame. I thought ESPN totally pimped her last night, put her in terrible positions. She's doing those transitions from the show to the commercial break, teasing what comes back. ESPN totally trying to ride the Livy Dunn audience and momentum. Total. It was supposed to be Kevin Hart, but because of the writer's strike in Hollywood, Kevin Hart didn't participate, so Pat McAfee got the nod. I thought McAfee actually did a decent job. I think McAfee's actually pretty funny. That said, I don't think the audience was as quick with the jokes or didn't understand the punchlines, because he slipped in a Brett Favre lawsuit joke, which was perfect. I thought the best joke he had of the whole night, obviously. I thought the best joke he had of the whole night, obviously, was him attacking Skip Bayless, talking about Skip Bayless kept up that on the field and get playing because there are playoff implications. So I thought Pat McAfee did a decent job. I really thought last night was less about the host, obviously, without a host. So Pat McAfee just did a good job kind of filling in, doing what he needed to get us through that opening monologue. That said, what did I think of the actual award winners? First, let me start with Damar Hamlin. That was an incredible moment. I'm so glad that competitive individuals, the people we say, do not cry, do not break, and then we put them through 3 hours of the most emotional, crying, emotionally heart-wrenching broadcast of all time. I actually kind of love it because you see all of these athletes who you think of as tough and physical and fierce, and they are just sobbing. They're just losing it because when you listen to Liam Hendriks' speech, I thought it was outstanding. There were a couple speeches last night that I thought were really good. I'll talk about Mikaela Shiffrin. I thought her speech was exceptional. I thought she had no business winning that award. Normally, I'm not someone who fights over ESPY award winners. That's not a hill I want to die on. But Mikaela Shiffrin was named Female Athlete of the Year. I know this is voted on by fans. Boy, is America freaking racist. Mikaela Shiffrin has not been one of the best skiers in the world over the last couple of 2 years. I know she broke the record for most skiing titles or downhill titles, whatever. The whole point is, Mikaela Shiffrin has been chasing that title for a while. She actually really struggled in the Olympics. I don't think Mikaela Shiffrin is actually kind of in her peak right now. She's kind of backslid from where she was. A'ja Wilson literally won the WNBA MVP last year and won the WNBA title. If you're not giving her the award for Best Female Athlete of the Year, let's call a spade a spade. They gave it to the white skier and didn't give it to the female black basketball player. I'll put it out there. I know a lot of other people are going to dodge this one and be like, oh, Mikaela Shiffrin, we love her. Mikaela Shiffrin is not at the top of the mountain right now. She has certainly slid down it. That said, I like Mikaela Shiffrin. She had a great speech. She clearly was ready. She had a great speech. But that said, A'ja Wilson got totally snubbed on that. A'ja Wilson was the best female athlete of last year. Hands down. It's not a question. Even LeBron James alluded to it at the end of his speech, alluding to the snubbage. And yes, I absolutely think race plays a factor. Mikaela Shiffrin, if she wasn't a white girl, I don't think she would have won the award. So I thought A'ja Wilson absolutely got robbed. I did want to call that out. Another team, I want to say a team as opposed to a person who got snubbed, Oklahoma softball. What does Oklahoma softball need to do to get a little bit of respect? Sure, they were mentioned throughout the show, but arguably the greatest college sports team since UCLA basketball got absolutely nothing last night. They got shut the frick out. So it was kind of funny to me just seeing who the winners were for the ESPYs last night. I know it's a fan-voted award. Tells you a lot about sports fans in this country. That said, let's go to LeBron James. I actually didn't have a problem with... I know there were certain cringe moments in LeBron James's speech and his whole presentation. There always are. LeBron James can be very cringeworthy. However, I love seeing Savannah. I actually was happy to see the family up on the stage. Thought that was appropriate. I didn't need to see a rapper. I didn't need to see a celebrity. I thought it was nice to have his family up on the stage. Thought that was really nice. The whole Savannah, he's the baddest mother, and then the daughter. all right, like that was cringe to me, but like cute, whatever. Like that was very ESPN on ABC as a Disney broadcast. That was very like, all right, we're doing it for the kids. And yes, it's pretty cringeworthy, but okay, we'll stomach it. That said, I thought LeBron James' speech was okay. It was fine. It was okay. I didn't think it was like amazing. But what did piss me off is that we treated last night as his non-retirement speech. LeBron James is coming back. LeBron James is not retiring. Who thought LeBron James was retiring? Did anyone out there think LeBron James was retiring? I didn't. I thought he was jerking us around a few weeks ago after the Lakers got eliminated from the playoffs. I thought LeBron James was putting that out there in classic LeBron form. LeBron wants the attention. No, don't focus on the Nuggets. Don't focus on some other team. Focus on LeBron. And that's what LeBron made it about. Okay, fine. That's LeBron's purview. That's kind of his track record. But did anybody think that he was retiring last night? First of all, that would have been the most bizarre. LeBron James is an attention whore. You think that he would have taken a moment that's shared by others and slipped in a retirement? No, he's going to make a whole like documentary about his retirement. Like, don't worry. LeBron is going to get his own personal spotlight for retirement. He doesn't need to use the ESPYs to try to make that announcement. Second of all, I hate that Bleacher Report like sent out on my phone saying that like LeBron James is not retiring. What kind of breaking news is that? Really? Really? And Tom Brady is still retired. And Joe Biden is old. And China does spy. Like, give me some obvious things and put a breaking ticker next to it. Ridiculous. So that said, all I'm going to put out there is LeBron James not retiring was like the low point of the night for me. It was stupid. It was unnecessary. But that said, I'm actually glad that LeBron got his moment on the ESPYs because we don't need to do it again. He has now had his moment. We have done it. We suffered through it. Great. Yeah, the sky is blue. LeBron James is not retiring. Did we think LeBron James in front of an ESPYs crowd was going to do that? That's like thinking he was going to make his decision to go to Miami right after he pulled off the jersey when the Cavs lost to the Celtics. No, folks. Don't worry. LeBron James, the attention whore, is going to find every opportunity to make something about him. The ESPYs, that was his way of kind of pulling on the tail, but he was going to make the reveal last night. And unfortunately, what does it really tell me? It tells me we are in for the most insufferable 2, 3, 4-year period of time where every offseason, probably during the season, LeBron James will talk about the mental struggle and the physical struggle. And do I want to play? And can I do it anymore? We got a taste of that last night of when I start to cheat the game, I'm not going to play anymore. LeBron, you know who you cheat? You cheat all of us who just want peace, who just want calm. I don't need bullshit, fake LeBron, fake news stories. I don't need it. I don't need it. I know there are no sporting events today on this Thursday, so maybe a lot of you are looking to scrape at any little nugget of nonsense to like, ooh, let me get some sports into my life. LeBron James' fake retirement did nothing for me. And more importantly, it teases the cycle we're going to go through. At least with Tom Brady, he retired, fake retired, did his, okay, fine. I wasn't crazy about when Tom Brady did it. I'm definitely not going to be about it with LeBron James. LeBron James, glad we gave you your flowers last night. Can you please leave us alone now? Can we please not hear about you for a few months? That would be wonderful. I do want to talk about Carmelo Anthony. Look, I actually really like Carmelo Anthony. I remember that Syracuse team. I obviously loved him in his time in the NBA with the Nuggets and the Knicks and the Lakers, whatever. Is Carmelo Anthony like that good? Like, I know Carmelo Anthony's like an all-time top 75 player. Fine, whatever. Is Carmelo Anthony like worth what we saw last night? Chris Paul, LeBron James, and Dwayne Wade treated Carmelo Anthony like a multiple-time NBA champion who is finally retiring after so many accomplishments. Did Carmelo Anthony like win anything in his career? I know, look, Carmelo was a great scorer, so like you want to look at great scorers of all time, inside, outside, all over the floor. Carmelo's a great player to watch. But Carmelo Anthony was treated last night better, in my estimation, than Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki is a multi-time champion. Yeah, okay. So this is what we're doing now. This is what we're doing. We're giving Carmelo Anthony a send-off of epic proportions because he's boys with LeBron? That's what it felt like to me. It felt like because Carmelo is boys with LeBron, that he got a special moment last night. I guess that's cool. Stay mellow. Like, I'm all about it. But I was just surprised because, like, I didn't realize Carmelo Anthony was a multiple-time NBA champion. I didn't realize Carmelo Anthony was an MVP. I didn't realize Carmelo Anthony was so important to the NBA that we needed to carve out special time to acknowledge this man's retirement when, frankly, the dude's been, like, semi-retired for, like, what, the last 4 years? Like, he's on a team, he's looking to play. Like, he went through so many ups and downs when he was, like, not on a team, but he wasn't retired. We're giving Carmelo Anthony that kind of send-off? Man, when LeBron does retire, can you imagine what he's going to get? We just gave Carmelo Anthony that kind of treatment last night. That definitely stood out to me. I also want to say this. There is no way that the Chiefs, to me, were the best team of last year. And I say that in part because again, this is my Skip Bayless of the night. This is my Skip Bayless rant of the day, rather, where I'm going to talk about DeMar Hamlin, but not about his heroic comeback from near death. I'll talk about what it meant for football. If DeMar Hamlin doesn't happen, if the DeMar Hamlin event does not occur, do the Chiefs get the number 1 seed in the AFC? I don't know. If the Chiefs don't get the number 1 seed in the AFC, do they win the Super Bowl? I don't know. So, the fact that the Chiefs were named the best team of last year, I thought was so ridiculously stupid, because if you look at it, the Chiefs weren't the best team of I know they won the Super Bowl, but in reality, the Chiefs got oh so lucky. Oh so lucky. So I just want to say that. I didn't think the Chiefs deserved that. Again, Oklahoma softball is the best team since John Wooden UCLA basketball. And how many awards did Oklahoma softball win last night? Zip, zero, nada, nothing. They got shut the frick out. Shocked by it. They had as many awards last night as losses they've had over, the last 3 years? Oklahoma softball is the best team in the world right now. I don't care about anything else. I actually did love the USA Soccer. They had like a mini documentary towards the end of the show about women's soccer fighting for equal pay. I actually thought that was outstanding. I was all about it. And was it so perfect that later last night, the USA men's lost to Panama in the CONCACAF semifinals or whatever. And it was just like a perfect demonstration of like, oh yeah, that's right. Men's USA soccer, even when it's at like its best, it still sucks compared to the women. So I actually thought that was a nice moment of the night for the Arthur Ashe Award going to the USA women's soccer team, getting equal pay. By the way, if I've never said this before, equal pay is absolutely something I stand by. So if you think the USA men's deserve as much money or more as the women's, just look at the TV ratings, look at the trophy case. USA women's is a powerhouse. USA men's is barely on the sports page. So I wanted to put that out there. Anyways, those were my thoughts about the ESPYs. If you want to catch any more of them. I did have one more thought. There's this award that goes to colleges. That's the Capital One Cup, right? So LSU last year had like a phenomenal year in sports. And they didn't win either the men's or the women's Capital One Cup. What does LSU have to do? Florida won, despite losing to LSU in the College Baseball World Series, and Texas won. And it goes to show that, like, if you're a university out there and you're good at, like, track and field, you're going to win that award almost every year. So, like, Texas, who was the other, and Florida, like, it's not about college football or college basketball, even no, it's like, if you're good at track and field and swimming, you should win that award every year. How did LSU not win that? So I did love Angel Reese giving us the no look, and additionally putting out there that LSU is going to win back-to-back titles. Don't actually feel like that's that big of an arrogant statement. LSU has reloaded. LSU is by far the best team in the country when it comes to college basketball. So I thought Angel Reese did a good job. If you guys haven't seen it, actually, Lil Wayne performed last night. He performed a Millie, and he actually rewrote some of the lines to match the ESPYs. Fire from Lil Wayne. Just want to shout out Lil Wayne for that. I know he's a big viewer of our show. So I want to say, Wheezy, you crushed it. I'll see you when you're on tour next. Anyways, those were some of my thoughts on the ESPYs. Kyle, appreciate you being with us. Glad that I can be giving you some entertainment on this Thursday, a no sports Thursday. The worst day in the history of 2023 is today, folks. There's no baseball. There's no WNBA. There is nada. There is nothing today. And I pray to the sports gods that this is the last day of 2023 without MLB, NBA, college football, NFL, college basketball. Hopefully this is the last day. This brings me back to COVID, where I'm just dreaming of sports being on TV, but instead, nothing. I got to watch reruns of Suits on Netflix. But that said, those are some of my thoughts on the ESPYs. Let me know what you guys thought. Did you like the award winners? Who was your favorite speech of the night? What were some of the things that stood out to you? I do want to also shout out Drew Holiday and his wife. Unbelievable story. So glad that award for Muhammad Ali went first. Always feel like that's a good one. Bit of a sad note in that Dick Vitale has announced that he does have cancer again. He'll be fighting it for a third time. So Dick Vitale, one of the voices of our lives, certainly if you're a college basketball fan. So wishing the best to Dick Vitale in this latest fight. And for all those who have never seen Jim Valvano's speech, make the time to watch it. Never give up. Don't ever give up. It's one of the great speeches of all time. So if you haven't seen it, I'm definitely a romantic. I am definitely an emotional guy. I love sports, and I love the emotions that come out of sports. I watch the Jim Valvano speech every single year, every single ESPYs, so hope you guys do too. And, of course, make your donations to the V Foundation. When I worked at ESPN, I know how much that meant to the people on campus there, and ever since then, it's definitely been an organization and a cause close to my heart. So hope you guys are feeling charitable and make a donation to the V Foundation today. Those are my thoughts on the ESPYs. Again, our NASCAR expert is going to join us in just a few minutes, but I've got one more rant for you. The New York Yankees have hit a new low in their entire history, and it is a time in which George Steinbrenner would be rolling around in his grave if he knew this news. The New York Yankees have sold out. They have put a patch on their jersey, maybe the most iconic, untouchable, perfect jersey in the history of sports. And by the way, am I a Yankee fan? Hell no. But still, those pinstripes are beautiful. That Yankees jersey has literally been the most iconic, recognizable jersey in North American sports. And what did Hal Steinbrenner do? He not only tarnished it, but he has completely destroyed the reputation and standard that his father set. The New York Yankees were once a proud championship organization. And now, for the cost of $25 million a year, they will now wear a patch on their sleeve that says Star Insurance. Not I Love New York, not something that, no, Star Insurance. That's what the Yankees sold out for. $25 million for it to say Star Insurance. Now, it was reported that there was actually at least one other sponsor, maybe even more, that were willing to pay more. The highest price that I've heard was someone was willing to pay $35 million to put their logo on the Yankee sleeve. Now, I think that's smart. I think whoever gets their logo, Star Insurance, bravo, you're the winner of this story. Because if you do get your logo on that Yankees jersey, oh my goodness, is that a home run. This is more valuable than the Lakers. It's more valuable than the Celtics. It's more valuable than even the Cowboys in my mind. There is no jersey, no uniform that a brand should want to be on more than the New York Yankees. But I don't care about Star Insurance. I care about preserving the quality of baseball, the standards that we have, the idea that there are some things that are untouchable. Do I think the Red Sox uniform is made different with a patch on it? I don't really care. It's a nice jersey, but whatever. But the Yankees pinstripes are now broken up by something that says Star Insurance. Look, Hal Steinbrenner, you are pathetically bad as an owner. The Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009. They are less and less competitive, I feel like, every single year. And the reputation, the idea of the Yankees that we have built in our heads over the last 40 years, 60 years, 70 years, is about winning. It's about spending money. It's about championships. It's not about sponsors on the jersey. This is still an organization that forces players to trim their beard and mustache because that was the rule set by George. So now, Hal Steinbrenner, for the for the low, low cost of $25 million is selling out the soul of the Yankees and putting a brand, putting an ad on the Yankees jersey. New low for Yankee fans, new low for Yankee Nation, new low for the New York Yankees. Not only are you not a World Series contender, not only are you a laughingstock, but now you're just like everybody else. You're just a sellout for a few more dollars. And by the way, Hal, I hope you put that $25 million to good use, because you're not winning a title this year unless you go out and get Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto or something. So go spend that $25 million and fast, because if you just did that to line your pockets, but you're not going to make the Yankees any better, the Yankees will be officially demoted to the New York Mets level, which is we don't win, we just happen to be in New York, and we're desperate to get as much money as possible because that's all we frickin' care about. I think the Yankees adding an ad or a brand to their jersey is a new low for the Yankees. And as someone who doesn't really like the Yankees, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with them tarnishing their legacy and their reputation and their history. If Hal Steinbrenner wants to destroy everything his father built, go for it, Hal. You have my permission. And may it start with Star Insurance. Star Insurance, the sponsor of the New York Yankees. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. With no sports on today, you can tell I am fired the frick up. I am just giving you straight heat right now. Nothing but Randy Johnson fastballs, because I've got a lot to rant about today. So hope you guys do too. Share your questions, share your comments, share your takes in the chat. What do you think of the New York Yankees adding a brand to their logo? Would love to see that. Would love to see your comments. Do you like it? Do you like the Yankees are now sponsored by Star Insurance and have a patch on their jersey? What are your thoughts? $25 million? Felt a little low. Felt like they could have gotten more. Supposedly, they were looking for the right sponsor, and it had to be the right brand. Is Star Insurance like that good a brand? Is Star Insurance like, oh, that's okay? No, I think it does nothing. Again, it still detracts from one of the great jerseys of all time. I think it's just pathetically low class, low brow. It is a loser move by the New York Yankees. So, Yankee fans, welcome to Metsville. You're a loser, and now you've got a logo on your jersey. You're not special anymore. Let's just admit it. Let's just admit it. It's like Boston Celtic fans trying to tell me that, like, Celtic pride and the Celtics are like one of the great championship teams of all time. Yeah, back in the day they were. They've won one title in this century. Okay, New York Yankees, how many titles have you won in this century? What, 2? You've won 2 titles in the 2000s. You are just like everybody else. And now that you got a patch on your logo, you can't even say you've got the nicest jerseys in sports. So, new low for Yankees, and I am loving it. I am rolling around in it like a pig in poop. That said, I've got more to rant about today, so don't worry. You can tell I'm bringing those fire takes. That said, we do have our NASCAR expert calling in just a few minutes. The race this week is going to be in New Hampshire, as at New Hampshire Motor Speedway this weekend at the Magic Mile. So our NASCAR expert is about to call in, give us some of his takes and advice. And by the way, if you guys don't pay attention to our NASCAR expert, if you don't bet on car racing or NASCAR, you are missing out. Our NASCAR expert hits at about a 50% rate for his picks. And again, NASCAR picks come in at plus money. Really good odds. He cashed last week on his winner. Our NASCAR expert's phenomenal at picking races. So if you don't bet NASCAR, if you don't really know about it, if you're not knowledgeable about it, don't worry. He's going to make you smarter, tell you what you need to know. Follow his advice, everybody. I do, and I am lining my pockets with cash money. So make sure you guys are following us. Make sure you join us, because our NASCAR expert is calling in any second and is going to give you some really good insight for the race this weekend at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Of course, we have NASCAR this weekend, no Formula One. That said, if you do want to hear what our Formula One expert said yesterday, we had him on for an interview yesterday to talk about where we are in the season, some of his thoughts about the Hungarian Grand Prix. That's not this weekend, but next. So if you want to check that out, go over to our YouTube channel, But Fumble Sports on YouTube. You can check out all of our content. And, of course, You can hear what our Formula One expert had to say and get a little bit more informed about Formula One as we get into mid-season action. That said, we now have our NASCAR expert on the line, straight from pit row at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Mr. NASCAR expert, I hope you're having a great day. What are your thoughts? What's the latest coming from the NASCAR world? Any news, any storylines, anything that has your attention right now?
Well, I hate to start off my segment this way, but the first thing that has my attention is no sports today. Come on, we have Eldora tonight. We have the sprint cars racing for the biggest prize they've ever had, $1 million to the winner tonight in Eldora sprint car racing. And then you have the SRX series, which we can talk about a little bit later. They're kicking off tonight on ESPN. So come on, we have something to watch tonight. We have motor racing to watch today.
Please forgive me. Lord, let me just say, I was so wrong. Here I thought we had no sports on tonight, but Mr. NASCAR puts me in my place and says, hey, but Fumble Sports, get in the back seat because you don't even know. NASCAR's driving the way tonight. There is some sporting action on, and it has to do with the motors. So, NASCAR expert, then break it down for us. What are we going to be watching tonight? What should we be tuning our TVs to?
Well, two things you should be tuning your TVs to. One is Flow Racing, and it's an app. Now, you need to pay for it, and I'm sure a lot of people may not have heard of it that haven't really followed racing, but this Flow Racing app basically streams live events from all over the country. You know, we talk about at the end of our segment about supporting your local short tracks. That's what Flow Racing does. Flow Racing goes all over the country, and they broadcast your local...
This is Flow Sports, correct?
Flow Sports. Yep, Flow Sports.
By the way, I actually have a friend who works at Flow Sports. I'm a big fan of it. To what Mr. NASCAR is talking about, Flow Sports does a really good job of broadcasting some of the sporting events that maybe don't get the kind of respect they deserve. I joke with my friend who works there that it's ESPN 8, the Ocho kind of broadcasting. It's bicycle racing. It's short track racing. It's sporting events that may not get the kind of attention. But don't be confused or don't be mistaken. It's good sports action, and it is something you can put your money on. So there's definitely something to be caught on Flow Sports every night. But you're telling me there are a few races we should keep our eye on.
Yeah, and to your point, Flow Racing or Flow Sports, they have a laundry list of everything from badminton, tennis, soccer, rugby, cricket. You can watch stuff from all over on there. But they do a great job with their motorsports program. So tonight on Flow Sports is Eldora. Eldora is one of the most famous tracks across the country. Tony Stewart, the former NASCAR driver, owns it, and he's putting on the Eldora Million tonight, and it's $1 million to the winner. And this is by far the biggest purse of any winged sprint car that you'll see. So last night was a smaller show leading up to tonight's big show, and then the King's Royal was this weekend, which we don't have to get into that. But tonight, Flow Sports, Eldora Million. You want to see some action on sprint cars? It's a 50-lapper feature. And if you've never seen a sprint car race actually in person or even on TV, they're absolutely phenomenal. They fly around that track at 13-second lap times. It's just incredible. I'm sure you've seen the cars, the open cage with the huge wings on top. That's what a winged sprint car is, and they're light with a shit ton of horsepower. So they just haul the mail around there. So Eldora is a really good one to watch tonight. And then we'll touch on it. SRX starts tonight. SRX stands for Superstar Racing Experience, and this is the third year in a row that they've started this series. Ray Evernham, who's a former crew chief, Donald Hawk, Tony Stewart, a couple guys got together and started this series. And this series is kind of based on a series that used to run back in the 90s and early 2000s called the IROC series. And what the IROC series philosophy is we're going to have one company build all these cars, and we're going to build them identical, down to each bolt, each torque spec, everything's going to be the same. Then we're going to take them to the setup plate. We're going to have one guy set up all the race cars. And then we're going to take them to the track. We're going to have one guy shake down all the cars. They want these cars to be identical as possible. And then they would take drivers from all different mediums. They take drivers from IndyCar, from NASCAR, from drag racing.
So we're really seeing the best driver assert himself because we've eliminated the variables that would suggest the car's better, that puts the drivers maybe at a disadvantage or advantage. And we're saying, nope, we've eliminated the variables. May the best driver win.
Yep, that's 100% right. They want to see who has the talent from which series. And what this XRS, the IROC series ran at the tracks at Cup Rant. They would run Daytona, they run Indianapolis. What SRX has done is, like I said, I'm a huge fan of supporting local short tracks. They're going to these local Saturday night short tracks on Thursday night. It'll be Thursday night, every Thursday for the next 6 weeks at 9 p.m. on ESPN. And it's going to be like this week at Stafford up in Connecticut. Stafford's a half-mile, very famous short track that runs a lot of modifieds up there, which is another type of race car. and they're going to go there, and they're going to pack that place tonight. Stepper Speedway is going to be overflowing with people tonight to get in there to see this race. And they're going to go to 6 other tracks across the country, and they'll throw a dirt track in there and help support the local short tracks. And what they're doing is they're bringing in past and current drivers. Rock was current drivers. They're bringing in past and current drivers. So you're going to have a laundry list of guys. Marco Andretti from IndyCar Series, who's now retired.
Oh, wow.
He won the series championship last year. He's in there. Greg Biffle, Clint Boyer, who's been recently retired.
I mean, these are names that the average fan, the average person who's been, even if you're not a big NASCAR fan, if you were just watching, let's say, NFL Sunday, you probably caught a couple of these names on Fox's broadcast. So these are names you can kind of get into, almost like a senior circuit of golf or tennis, where it may not be players in their peak, but still plenty of brand names that you will recognize.
Yeah, 100%. And Ron captions drag racing with Elio Castroneves. Elio is obviously a 4-time Indy 500 winner, but he also won Dancing with the Stars. He might be more known for Dancing with the Stars than his 4-time winning Indy 500. But, you know, they do a good job, and they'll start 12 cars. And if I'm not mistaken, it's between 6 or 7 guys will run full-time on this deal, and then they're going to rotate their celebrity or other drivers through. So Joseph Newgarden from IndyCar Series, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Haley Deegan, whose father, Brian Deegan, was, a motocross guy in the sports world. His daughter, Haley, now runs in the truck series, so she'll be racing. So it's something really cool. You can see different drivers every single week, aside from the ones that are running for the championship. But it's cool to see, like, the past drivers who've got out. I mean, Kenny Schrader. Kenny Schrader is probably in his late 50s, still runs a ton of dirt races, but he's going to come run the SRX this year. So you get a really wide variety. It's pretty cool. They get, travel across the country, and you get a chance for these local places to see the big stars of IndyCar, NHRA, NASCAR, come together to see them run. So it's pretty cool. And it's a 6-race thing, like I mentioned, and they'll start tonight at 9 p.m. and they'll run the next 6 weeks every Thursday.
I just wanted to touch on a name that you brought up, and it was in a couple different ways. Tony Stewart, obviously no longer in the Cup Series racing, but what he does for other forms of racing, for short track, dirt track, all of this, I feel like Tony Stewart is one of the great ambassadors and leaders of auto racing, and what he does on his own, putting his money behind it, getting in the driver's seat. We don't need to talk about his past. I know there's a lot there, but what is Tony Stewart's role right now in trying to drive the growth of auto racing?
So Tony Stewart has got his hands in a lot of different things right now. So his number one deal is he's part of Stewart-Haas Racing in the Cup Series. They field Kevin Harvick and Ryan Preece, Eric Almirola, the Cup cars there, Chase Briscoe, and he's a part over there. Then he recently formed Tony Stewart Racing, which is a Top Fuel NHRA drag racing team. He got married to Leah Pruitt, who drives a Top Fuel dragster, so now he started TSR, and he has a Top Fuel car with Leah Pruitt, and he has a funny car with Matt Hagan. So he has that going on. Aside from his other Tony Stewart Racing branch of his sprint cars. Tony Stewart, obviously, his background is dirt racing, and he's a dirt guy from that, and he always will be a dirt guy. So he has sprint cars that run in that. And then we touched on it. He owns the Lower Speedway, which the sprint cars are running tonight, as we mentioned, for $1 million. He bought that speedway when it was going to be pretty much be extinct and being leveled and turned into a strip mall. He bought it, resurrected it, and now look what he's doing. He's putting on this race tonight for these sprint car drivers from all over the world. They're coming from Australia, everywhere, to run this race tonight. So Tony Stewart, you're right. There's a handful of guys that are ambassadors for the sport to make it grow. And Tony Stewart's one of these guys that will always be back at the grassroots, roots level. And, like I mentioned, part owner of this SRX deal to make it grow, because the grassroots level is where it starts. The Denny Hamlins, the Kevin Harvick, Jeff Gordons, all these guys, they come from the dirt tracks. They come from the lower local short tracks to make it to the big time. So a lot of these guys haven't forgotten that. And Tony Stewart definitely is one of those guys. And
the reason I bring him up, obviously, there was the incident years ago where he hit someone on the track. That individual died, and it stained the reputation of Tony Stewart, especially with non-committed racing fans. It kind of became like the Jeopardy answer or the trivia question answer that was attached to his name. Obviously, both deserved and undeserved because of what happened. But I want to bring that up only because, like, you talk about individuals across sports, and you sometimes don't recognize what's being done behind the scenes to grow the game. In a strange kind of comparison, I think about what Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, what they have done for basketball, growing it internationally, going to China, going overseas to grow the game. Now, you're not doing that in auto racing the same way, but if you're Tony Stewart, it is going to places within the country and continuing to financially support bring your brand, bring your audience to some of these tracks, some of these events, some of these circuits that, again, are the lifeblood of racing. It would be like saying if Major League Baseball got rid of single A or double A leagues. If you didn't have that, the ability to develop talent, the ability to grow the game, also the ability to connect with the average fan who may not be able to attend a race or may not be able to go to some of these events, see their favorite drivers. For those drivers and these events to become more localized and come to them, incredibly important for auto racing. So I wanted to give a shout out to Tony Stewart simply because, again, someone who may be misrepresented in the larger sports media community, but within the auto racing community is such a pivotal figure. And you think about, like, Earnhardt is a very big name, but I don't know if Dale Earnhardt Jr. is doing 1/10 behind the scenes to grow the sport in the way that Tony Stewart is. I'd kind of be curious to know what your take is on that.
Well, actually, Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually does an immense amount of work to grow the sport. He just keeps it.
He's even more under wraps about it.
He is.
Wow.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., during his career, he was very, very shy. He was an introvert. He went from his motor coach to the car for practice, from the car to the motor coach.
I always felt that way about Dale Jr. in that if his dad wasn't the intimidator, he never would have sought the spotlight. He never would have put himself. He didn't have that kind of arrogance or that kind of attitude. It was purely because of his name, in which every camera was pointed on him. But he seemed like someone where if he could have lived with his helmet on in the driver's seat, he would have.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And when Senior was unfortunately killed in the 2001 Daytona 500, everyone looked at Junior like he was the guy.
Like it's your time to immediately mature into what your dad was, and it's like, but I'm a different person. I didn't ask for this.
That's exactly correct. And it took a long time for him to kind of come out of his shell. But if you would have told me sitting here in 2023 that Dale Earnhardt would have a very successful podcast and have a race team and all the things that he's done, I would have said there's no way. He hates the media. He hates being in front of the camera.
If I told you that he was helping NBC with their Kentucky Derby broadcast
1,000%.
as an on-air talent, I'm with you. I would have been shocked. I just didn't realize behind the scenes that he was such an important figure in driving the growth of auto racing.
Yeah, he is. So him and his sister Kelly own Junior Motorsports, and they run Xfinity cars, and that, which is a level below the NASCAR Cup Series. We talked a little bit of that a few weeks ago. And he also runs a late model program out of his shop. And we talk about late models. These are the cars that run your local show tracks on Saturday night. So Josh Berry, who's actually going to be taking over for Kevin Harvick next year, ran Junior's late model for 7-8 years and slowly worked his way up. And now he's going to be Kevin Harvick this year. So he really develops the growth of the grassroots level to the point where him, Kevin Harvick, Justin Marks, a couple guys got together, Jeff Burton, they bought the Cars Tour. The Cars Tour is the biggest Southeast touring late model series right now in the country. They bought that series earlier in the year, and they're trying to revitalize a little bit more to grow it, to grow that grassroots level and bring guys in so they don't have to have a sponsor behind them. Talent can take them to the next level. So he has that going on. And let's be honest, that North Wilkesboro revitalization from the All-Star, that track was up there in Wilkes County just dead and fading away. Dale Jr. went up there with him and a few of his buddies. They went up there with a bunch of weed whackers and lawnmowers. They cleaned the place up. Weeds were going through the track. They cleaned the entire place up. He had iRacing come in, which he works very closely with, scan the track, to put it on iRacing to get this younger generation familiar to what North Wilkesboro used to be for the Cup Series. And he started that driving force. And then look what it turned into.
And now it's on the Cup Series now.
Yeah, for the All-Star race. It's just incredible. So Junior does a lot of things. There's a lot of stories I could sit here and tell you about Junior that you'll never hear from behind the scenes. And that's because that's the way he likes it. He doesn't want to know that he helped this guy out and, Dale Jr. helped him. He doesn't want that notoriety. He just wants to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. But, yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 1,000% great for the sport and growing it as well.
It's interesting because, again, this shows my knowledge, and it's why we have our NASCAR expert on, because I hear about Tony Stewart doing so much to, again, grow the game at that grassroots level, at that dirt track level. I'm glad you shed some light on Dale Earnhardt Jr. so we could get a bit of insight as to all that he's doing. Again, we've got our NASCAR expert joining us, giving his insight on the world of racing. We're also going to talk about this weekend's race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. But before we get there, you did mention there were a few more things you wanted to talk about tonight. Was it the XRK race?
The SRX race, yeah, we talked a little bit about that ESPN race at 9 o'clock tonight with all the drivers there. So that's definitely something to tune in. And then, like I mentioned, if you don't have Flow Racing or Flow Sports app, it is a paid service. But like you mentioned, there's so much stuff on there aside from auto racing. But the Eldora Million tonight is something that definitely want to keep your eye on for sure.
Now let's shift our attention to the Magic Mile, the 1 mile oval track that will be the focus of our attention for at least NASCAR fans in New Hampshire on Sunday. Give us some of your early thoughts just about the track, how it runs, what we should anticipate the track kind of offers for the drivers.
Yeah, so the Magic Mile, as they call it, it's a 1 mile flat oval, and it has pretty wide sweeping turns. They almost account these turns as if you're driving a true natural road course. That's kind of how it is. You got to be really easy with the throttle getting in. And the key to this track is you want to be back to the throttle as quick as you can to get that drive off the corner to beat your competitor. And a lot of guys will fight a tight condition. What a tight condition means is you can't turn the steering. If you're in your car, you're trying to turn the steering wheel to the left, it just doesn't want to turn. It means the front tires just aren't gripping the racetrack for what you need to help that car turn. They'll fight that a lot here at Loud. So a good handling car that'll turn to the center of the corner and let you get back to the throttle quicker to get that drive up off is really what you're going to be fighting here. In years past, we have seen some surprise winners here. As recently as 2021, Eric Almirola won this race. But for the most part, there's about 4 or 5 guys that you can look at this week that are pretty much clear-cut favorites for this track. This just doesn't suit everybody. This is a track that some guys are really, really good at and some guys are really bad at. You're kind of not in between in New Hampshire. You're either pretty decent here or you're not. It's kind of a tricky place to get around. They used to race here twice a year, but with NASCAR growing and trying to expand different markets, they took a race away from New Hampshire. So this is the only race that the Cup Series will hold there this year. And the Lobster. The Lobster is pretty cool. You'll see it in Victory Lane. They have a ginormous lobster every single year, live lobster that they give to the winner that hold it in Victory Lane. And some drivers like to hold it, and some drivers kind of shy away from it. So it'd be pretty interesting to see who takes on the checkered flag and if they want to hold that giant lobster in Victory Lane or not.
That's always funny to me because these NASCAR drivers are a bunch of good old boys from the Midwest and from the South. They don't know a lobster when they see one. So unless they're coming from Louisiana and some crawfish or something like that, yeah. I'm sure a lot of them are like, wait, what is this prehistoric thing you want me to hold? Can't I drink some milk? Can't I do something else? But yeah, that lobster. One other note, just as a New Englander, New Hampshire, why are you trying to take Maine's celebration? Never in my life have I been like, let me go get a New Hampshire lobster. Not once in my life. I'm just saying that as someone who grew up in New England. So Maine, this should be your racing trophy, but New Hampshire kind of snubbed it from you. Anyways, getting back onto a more serious note, give me maybe a handful of drivers that you have your eye on to finish in like the top 10 who have the potential to maybe win this race.
So in the top 10 this week, it's kind of interesting to look around and see who you have. I think 2 guys, one guy that's been gaining steam. I have two guys here. One that's been gaining steam lately is Ross Chastain with Trackhouse Racing. He punched his ticket to the playoffs with a pretty good win in Nashville a few weeks ago. They run a Project 91 car with Shane Van Gisbergen at Chicago. He's the one that took the win in Chicago. He's a supercar driver, not full-time, but that was a Trackhouse car. Daniel Suarez, who also runs for Trackhouse, finished second last week in Atlanta. So there's some momentum building there in Trackhouse the second half of the year to find speed. And Chastain is one guy to take a look at. The last 2 races at New Hampshire, he's posted 2 8th-place finishes. So he's been pretty decent here as of late, gaining speed. A top 10 or a top 5 could be on the horizon for Chastain. And one guy to look at, which I kind of wanted to think about fading this week, but it's hard to do, is Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick, obviously we talked about this swan song season. In New Hampshire, he's been pretty decent. At Phoenix this year, and I'll get to this in a second, at Phoenix this year, he finished in 4th and led 36 laps. And that's important because they are going to run the same tire compound in Phoenix this weekend in New Hampshire. So you can kind of go back and look at Phoenix and maybe see those guys that are kind of strong and say, okay, we're going to go to another flat. Phoenix is a little less than 1 mile, a little bit different characteristic, but flat mile, less than 1 mile oval with the same tire compound. And that's a huge deal for crew chiefs. If they don't have to try to fight a different type of tire compound every single weekend of what the tire may or may not do and they have a notebook on it, that's really big. So Harvick finished 5th last year at New Hampshire, and with that P4 at Phoenix, he's a driver to watch that could be in the top 10. I'm not saying fighting for a win, but I could definitely see Kevin Harvick notching the top 10 this weekend.
Okay, very interesting. By the way, for those that are new to Butt Fumble Sports, our NASCAR expert will post an article with his picks probably later this week, probably tomorrow. I'll put that up on the website. That said, our NASCAR expert is incredibly humble, one of the most humble people I've ever met, and yet I've got to be his Flava Flav. I've got to be his hype man because our NASCAR expert has been red, on fire hot with his picks this year, has done a brilliant job hitting about a 45-50% rate with his picks. And again, When you're picking NASCAR, you're getting all of your picks at plus money. So if you're doing anything better than like 20, 25%, you are in the dough. Want to make sure all of you guys are paying attention, because I know a lot of people out there maybe not look at NASCAR seriously, or they don't think about betting it. Even if they're a fan, maybe they're a little hesitant. They don't know quite where to go. Our NASCAR expert is bringing you really good knowledge, so keep those ears open. We'll go to the other side of things. You gave us a couple drivers that you think could finish in the top 10. Who are some drivers that you're like, I ain't taking no matter what? I have no confidence in them finishing high this week.
So I have two guys for that category too. And the first one to take a look at is Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman missed a couple races earlier in the year with a fractured vertebrae from a sprint car wreck, actually. But he's out of the Hendrick stable. You have Kyle Larson, fire. Obviously, William Byron, 4 wins, one last week. Just absolutely fire. Chase Elliott still finding his footing, but he's been finishing in the top 5 the last few races. And then you kind of have Alex Bowman out of this Hendrick stable, and he's just not been good this year. I don't know what's going on there. He's really struggling. So I look at Alex Bowman. He needs to win to get into this playoffs with the races that he missed. But, out of 11 starts here, he only has one top 10 in New Hampshire with an average finish of 24.3. So couple that with the fact that they just don't seem to have the speed this year, I would maybe stay away from that Hendrick Motorsports driver in the 48 car. And another one, I hate to do it, but it's Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace qualified 4th last year and finished 3rd in this race. But before that, in his 4 starts, his best finish was only 22nd with an average finish of 19.6. So we'll talk about some Toyotas that will be pretty strong this weekend, but I'm not sure Bubba Wallace is going to fit into that category this weekend.
Speaking of the drivers in the Toyota cars, which really stand out to you that you like?
Well, JGR. I think the JGR stable between Hamlin, Truex, and Bell, they've all been running really, really good. I think Tyler Reddick in the 2311 car, which is Bubba's teammate, might be okay this weekend, but I think he's still trying to find his footing. But right now, JGR, in my opinion, Joe Gibbs Racing, with the Toyota camp, they have caught, if not surpassed, the 3 Hendrick Motorsports cars this year. Hendrick was on a tear earlier in the year, and obviously William Byron still is on a tear. But between Hamlin, Truex, and Christopher Bell, if they're not even with Hendrick, they might be just pulling ahead a little bit at this point in the season.
So before I let you go, last thing I wanted to touch on was Christopher Bell. He was the most recent winner at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Is he someone that you have your eye on for potentially taking the checkered flag once again in New Hampshire?
Yeah, Christopher Bell is he's only had 3 starts at New Hampshire, and he won last year's race, and the year prior he finished with the 2nd place. He also did a tire test this year, earlier in the year, and reports were he was pretty quick. And what happens usually is NASCAR and Goodyear will get together and they'll say, hey, we want to see if we can make a better tire for this track. And they'll take a driver from Toyota, from Ford, and from Chevy, and they'll take, tires and they'll do a tire test and chop up all the data. Christopher Bell did that tire test, and from reports that I've heard, he was a lot quicker than the other 2 cars that were there. So coupled with his previous 2-year finishes leading into this race, I think Christopher Bell definitely is going to be one of the favorites to take a look at.
NASCAR expert, I so appreciate you joining us every week to give us this insight. I know you always like to close off your segment with a call to action for our viewers, so I'll let you do that now. Yeah,
real quick, we talk about our picks, and we're at Buffalo Sports. Our NASCAR picks have been fire as of late. Like you said, we just take it in stride. If there's meat on the bone, we'll take it, but you can't get too high and can't get too low. Just a couple quick things, and notes of my picks is interesting. 2 times this year, I didn't cash on a top 10 driver. But both those times, we picked the winner of the race. So it's pretty interesting. I've cashed top 10 driver in every single race except for twice. In those 2 races, we ended up picking the winner of the race, which is pretty interesting, which I'd love to have the winner picked over top 10 drivers any day of the week. But I just thought that was an interesting stat. And another thing to take a look at, too, is our blog that we post on buffalosports.com is, our head-to-head selections. In NASCAR, you can bet on group selections, where it's a group of 4 drivers. You pick one, they have odds, whoever finishes ahead, or they have head-to-head. We've really been looking at head-to-head lately, and in 6 of our last 9, we've hit on the head-to-head. So that's something you can take a look at the end of our blog that we post there. But, yeah, appreciate everyone listening and following us along at buffalosports.com. And like I always say, support local short tracks. And there's no way better to support local short tracks than like the SRX is doing tonight, or the dirt cars in Eldora. But anyone near you, I'm sure there's a short track within a 30-minute drive of where you live. Go check it out. Support this local business. Go support them. And you might see the next Jeff Gordon. You might see the next William Byron coming up through the grassroots system, because all these drivers have to start somewhere, and they start the local tracks at the grassroots level. So go and support them is one thing, but also go there, learn the cadence of the race weekend, Like I mentioned before, even learning what the colored flags mean. You learn that stuff and you educate yourself on racing, you'll only be better when the pay window opens up. So definitely go support your facts.
NASCAR expert, I just want to say thank you again. I have been riding along with those head-to-head matchups. I have been taking your winners as well. And like I said, they have been funding some of my losing picks in other sports, so I want to say thank you for that, for helping me stay even and above over the course of the last few months. But additionally, thank you so much for the knowledge, and I want to echo what our NASCAR expert said. I was wrong, everybody. I got it wrong. Today is not the worst sports day of the year. It isn't dead entirely. It's not silent entirely, because we have auto racing on the docket tonight. Make sure you guys are checking it out. NASCAR expert, thank you so much. I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You as well.
So that was our NASCAR expert who just joined us. IP Shade 45. Besides racing, we got tennis going on as well. Don't worry, I'm aware of Wimbledon. I'm just bored by it because, frankly, at this point, I'm just waiting for Novak Djokovic to take another title, which absolutely hurts me. He is my least favorite tennis superstar over my lifetime. So, yes, there is some tennis as well. IP Shade 45 reminding me it could be worse. It could be worse. But if you are a fan of the major four sports across North America, today is probably a good day to take the wife or the girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, whatever, out for maybe a few drinks, maybe a dinner, because tonight you may be able to get away with a date night since there isn't a lot of sports on TV. Yeah, golf and tennis as well. No, IP Shade 45, you're absolutely right. But Candyman, no WNBA today. I said this yesterday. I thought it was so stupid that the WNBA had 12 p.m. games yesterday on Wednesday. I'm going to double down on that thought. Why does not the WNBA take advantage of this ESPYs week where there isn't a lot of sports? Put yourself in prime time. I know that the WNBA has its all-star game this weekend, but just a massive missed opportunity for the WNBA. For you to be front and center, for your highlights to be first on SportsCenter. I feel like the WNBA sometimes doesn't realize its role or its goal. It's playing within the schedule of other sports and kind of letting itself be demoted by default. I feel like the WNBA needs to assert itself in its scheduling. WNBA, take a note from what we saw in the ESPYs last night with USA Women's Soccer. Go get respect. Go get better travel. Go get better treatment. Go stand up for yourself. I feel like the WNBA stands up for so many causes, does a great job of fighting, but frankly, the WNBA needs to be smarter, better, more strategic about where it's positioning games in terms of the time on the programming schedule to get as many viewers as possible, to grow the sport as much as possible. Don't understand what the strategy was yesterday. Don't understand it today. A massive opportunity to have the spotlight entirely on you. And what do? You punt. What a stupid move by those in leadership at the WNBA. Now, we've got some more news coming in. Saquon Barkley. It sounds like he is getting ever closer to a deal with the New York Giants. Right now I'm hearing it's about $14 million is about the price that they've settled on. Still working through some of the final details. But it does sound, by multiple reports here in New York, that it sounds like Saquon Barkley and the Giants are inching very close to a deal. Should be announced within the next, let's say, 4 or 5 days. He has a deadline set for Monday where it needs to get done. It does sound like it will get done. Yesterday was 13. He won 16. I'm hearing from Craig Carton, Boomer Esiason, two guys that are on local radio in New York who actually do have connections to the Giants and do a good job of putting out not just rumors, but things we can actually believe in. Sounds like $14 million is the number that these two have kind of, Saquon and the Giants have kind of settled on. We will see what the final figure is. But it does sound like Saquon Barkley and the Giants have entered the red zone. We haven't gotten a touchdown. We haven't gotten pen to paper just yet. But it does sound like Saquon Barkley will return to the Giants on an extension. So we will be very interested to see what the final figures are. Again, if you missed the early part of the show, we have already ranted about the ESPYs. I gave you all of my thoughts about that. Additionally, I talked about the Yankees advertising a brand jersey, a patch to their jersey. Pathetically bad by the New York Yankees. I think it's one of the low moments in New York Yankees history. George Steinbrenner would be spitting mad right now, but Hal Steinbrenner is a sellout. He's one of the worst owners right now, in my estimation, in North American sports. Not because he's done things so bad, but because he took one of the best franchises in sports and has let them down. Year by year, move by move, the Yankees went from a proud franchise to now just another team. Just another franchise, and this latest move is a sign of that. I did have a couple more things I wanted to rant about. First one being the St. Louis Cardinals, everybody, are sellers at the trade deadline. Rarely do we hear about the St. Louis Cardinals being out of contention. Usually they're one of the teams leading their division, chasing a world championship. Not this year. The St. Louis Cardinals general manager leadership has come out and said, we are sellers. We will make moves, not to acquire, but to ship guys out. That should be music to the ears of a number of different organizations across baseball, because Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and more are players to be coveted. If I'm the New York Yankees, yes, I'm looking at Nolan Arenado. If I'm the Boston Red Sox, yes, I'm looking at Paul Goldschmidt. If I'm the Rays, if I'm the Guardians, if I'm the Rangers, if I'm the Astros, if I'm any team that's fighting for contention, Goldie, Edman, Nolan Arenado, there are a number of players on that Cardinals roster that are absolutely worth making a move for. I don't think they're just rentals. I don't think they're short-term fixes. I think they're guys who probably are having a down year this year, who could easily bounce back to career highs next year. Getting them now at this trade deadline would be outstanding. So there are a number of organizations that should go calling the Cardinals and asking what the price is on Arenado, Goldschmidt, Edman, and more. IP Shade 45. Ultimately, I don't think Tommy Edman will get dealt. I think Goldschmidt's going to get traded. Goldschmidt's not having one of his better years. I could think they move on from him. I would be surprised if they trade Arenado, but I could see both of them leaving. One note on the Cardinals, and this came out of the All-Star game a couple days ago. The Cardinals had Adolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena both in their farm system. That was the starting left fielder and the starting right fielder of the All-Star game for the American League. That tells you the Cardinals, what used to be one of the best organizations at stockpiling and maintaining talent within their farm system, has completely lost control of that. The Cardinals need to replenish their farm system after plundering it years ago. They need to get some of that young talent back in. The only way to do that, go make some trades. Go sell Goldschmidt, go sell Arenado, go make those moves. But if you're a competitive team, if you're the Padres, if you're the Dodgers, if you're the Braves, the Mets, the Marlins, or any team in the American League in contention, you should be on the phone with the Cardinals as often as possible. Candyman, can't wait to watch the Genesis Scottish Open. Candyman, love the humor. Yes, I am not waking up to watch the Genesis Scottish Open. I will suffer through another day of reruns of Suits on Netflix or watching the new Netflix show Quarterbacks before I watch the Genesis Scottish Open. Dodgers linked to him as a rumor, could be used as a good utility guy. IP Shade 45, I think Tommy Edman's a bit too valuable for the Cardinals to get rid of. But if they're in trade mode and if they get a good haul of prospects back, I feel like almost everybody on the roster is available, including Jack Flaherty. That's actually the guy I'm most interested to see if they move on from him, because Jack Flaherty, hard to get good young pitching, but I know there are a lot of teams that would pay a hefty price to get him, so interested by that. IP Shade 45 asks, what do you think of Ohtani possibly playing on the Dodgers against the Padres in Korea to start next year? Well, first of all, that's just a lot of ifs. I don't know if I really care. Shohei Ohtani's from Japan. He's not from South Korea, so I don't really care about him starting the season in Korea. I think the likelihood of him going to the Dodgers right now is probably, I'd go as high as 40%, maybe even 50%. That said, I feel like the Dodgers are the front runner. If I were the New York Yankees, I'd go after Shohei Ohtani hard right now. I would make my move for Ohtani. I'd give up Austin Wells. I'd give up Jason Dominguez. I know a lot of you guys are like, no way, we're not going to give up our two best prospects. If you think Shohei Ohtani is going to go to New York in the offseason, you want to try and secure him now. If you gave him 2 months, 2.5 months to be in the Bronx, to live the life of a New York Yankee. Do I think the likelihood of him staying and re-signing with the Yankees goes up? Yes, by a significant number. So if I'm Brian Cashman, go get Ohtani. He would solve your problem in your lineup. He'd solve your problem in your rotation. He'd bring a swell of positivity and momentum within the fan base for the Yankees. He'd obviously sell a ton of merch, and I do think it gives then the Yankees the inside track to re-sign him. I know there are going to be a lot of baseball fans out there that are like, I'd love to have Ohtani. I don't want him on a rental. I don't want to give up my best prospects to only have him for 2.5 months, plus maybe a playoff run. And my response to that is fine. Then you're not getting him in the offseason. If you aren't willing to show this guy that you're going to go after him and pursue him like he is a frickin' Playboy model, then I don't think you'll probably get him. Because what Shohei Ohtani is going to demand once he hits the open market is going to be crazy. You need to get as much inside track with him as possible. I think that's why the Angels, if they had been able to make the playoffs, would have actually had a decent chance at re-signing him. But now that they're really not going to be in contention, or we expect them not to be in contention in a few weeks, Angels need to trade him. Teams like the Yankees, go make that move. Go after him. Go chase a championship. Yeah, you give up some prospects. So what? Prospects, you don't know what you're going to get. Shohei Ohtani is one of the most sure things in baseball. Even if he stops pitching in 2-3 years and he became a full-time hitter, you're getting Babe Ruth as a full-time hitter. So I don't think there's any downside to this. I know a number of you are like, don't trade the prospects. I think you're crazy. Shohei Ohtani is worth it. Get that inside track to try to sign him in the offseason now. Candyman, I would rather rewatch the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl than watch WHTV. I just said, I'm totally with you, by the way. By the way, I was taking the train from Boston back to New York. I'm in New York for a few days, and I was watching Twitter, NFL Twitter, put up the entire Patriots-Falcons Super Bowl. I watched it in its entirety on the train. Unbelievable viewing experience. I got to see the 28-3 comeback. I'd much rather watch that than almost any sporting event on today. Sorry, Mr. NASCAR. So, IP Shade 45 says, Ohtani for the price, I don't think can go to a small market team. I actually don't agree with you. I actually think there are a couple of organizations that have a such depth in their farm system that they actually could make the move. The team that I actually think about is the Tampa Bay Rays. Do I think the Rays are going to be able to sign Ohtani long term? No, I don't. But if the Tampa Bay Rays want to be like the Florida Marlins from a few years ago and pursue a World Series championship, the Rays actually have the talent in the farm system as well as the talent at the major league level where if they added a Shohei Ohtani, do I think that the Rays would actually challenge the Braves as the best team in baseball? Yes, I do. So no, I don't think there are a lot of small market teams that could go after Ohtani, but the Tampa Bay Rays are one of them. So keep your eyes on them if Ohtani actually hits the open market. Kyle, by the way, do I hate on golf? No, I just call it a good walk ruined, in the words of Mark Twain. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We are about an hour and 10 minutes into our show. Amazing how fast it goes. Even when we don't have sports on, we're talking, we're ranting, we got a lot to do. My last rant for you is about James Harden. James Harden is insistent that he not only wants to be out of Philadelphia, but he wants to be an LA Clipper. My response is fine. James Harden, you are one of the most annoying, pathetic players in the NBA. I am tired of hearing your trade demands every 6 months, every 3 months. You want to go play for the Clippers? Fine. Philadelphia, you'll be fine without him. Just get some good picks back or get some good players back. But James Harden is the migraine headache that will not go away. I'm tired of talking about this guy. I only bring it up because it's once again an example of an NBA player trying to maneuver, trying to force their way into something. I wish that, I rarely say this, I rarely come on the side of management in sports, but I will say it here. I wish these NBA owners had some balls and some backbone to tell these players, no, you signed a contract, you're under contract, you're here. I'm not trading you just because you woke up some random morning and said, I want out. If the Portland Trailblazers trade Dame Lillard for less than his value, shame on those owners. If the Philadelphia 76ers let James Harden force his way out of Philly without getting proper compensation. Shame on them. I think the NBA ownership needs to push back a little bit. I understand the NBA is the ultimate players league, and I don't have a problem with that, actually. Where I do have a problem with it is I think if you're a player and you sign a contract and you're getting paid a stupid amount of money, millions and millions of dollars to play basketball, then shut up and play basketball for the team that signed you, the team you committed to. I'm not saying that players should be in servitude, that they shouldn't have free agency, that they shouldn't try and make super teams. I actually am fine with that. My problem goes back to what we saw in The Last Dance. Scottie Pippen, I know you're underpaid, but you signed your John Hancock on that contract. That means the Bulls own the rights to you. Tough cooks. If you want out, if you think you're being underpaid, if you think you're undervalued, you shouldn't have signed the contract. Players have all of these teams around them. They've got a manager, they've got an agent, they've got a financial advisor, they've got their family, they got their friends. If you sign a contract in the NBA and you're getting paid millions of dollars, I don't want to hear that randomly you want out. James Harden, the Philadelphia 76ers fired Doc Rivers for you. They've tried to make moves to accommodate you. They are paying you millions of dollars. Shut up and play. Fine, you don't want to? Great. Philadelphia, kick him to the curb. Just make sure you get the proper compensation. Don't do him any favors. That's what I would say to NBA owners. Don't do these players any favors because they're not showing you the kind of loyalty that you're showing them. They're not giving you that benefit of the doubt. These players are signing contracts for absurd amounts of money. Money that is embarrassing to actually mention out loud because it's so much money given that the sport is only so big. That said, these owners need to push back because if James Harden can worm his way out of Philadelphia and make another team trade him, geez, what's next? What is next? So those are my thoughts on James Harden. Drew, this absolutely applies to Dame Dalla as well. Dame, if you wanted to play for a contender, you shouldn't have signed that freaking extension with the Trailblazers. Dame, did you really think that the Portland Trailblazers were going to win a title with you? Legitimately, did you think Portland, the ownership of Portland, the leadership of Portland, was going to spend the money to build a roster that would compete with the Lakers and the Suns and the Nuggets and the Clippers and the Golden State Warriors? You must have been freaking crazy. Dame Lillard knew what he was doing. Dame Lillard knew that he was signing an extension with a losing franchise, with a franchise that would not really contend for an NBA championship, and he signed. He signed because he wanted the money. He signed because he said he liked Portland, he was happy with the organization. He signed for the money. 2 years later, now he wants to go play it for a contender. You should have thought about that then. And again, I'm not saying the Trailblazers shouldn't trade him. I'm saying the Portland Trailblazers should trade him for real value. Don't discount the trade to accommodate Dame. Don't do him a favor. He signed a contract. He put his name on the deal. Hold him to it or get the value that you want back in return. Don't give a discounted deal. IP Shade 45, Harden, PG, Kawhi, if healthy, and old Goatbrook is not bad. I actually think it's a disaster. If I'm being honest, I actually think it is bad, IP Shade 45. Kawhi Leonard can't stay healthy. Paul George, I kind of have similar questions, but fine. He's probably the one that stays healthy the most. James Harden is a ball hog and bad in the playoffs and doesn't play good defense. And Russell Westbrook, what's his relationship with James Harden? Would they flow together? I feel, again, those are two ball-dominant players. I know Harden is better at assists, but he's still someone who likes the ball in his hands. I don't know how Harden, PG, Kawhi, and Westbrook are all supposed to operate on the same floor with only one basketball. I just don't see it working. If Clippers trade for Harden, that's going to be such a train wreck. I see so much. So, yeah, Candyman, I'm with you. I think there are going to be injuries on that team, but more importantly, I don't see any way. Look, I'm going to take a giant step back on this rant, and I'll say this. Look at the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets built a team. The Miami Heat built a team. They had a point guard who knew his role. They had a shooting guard who knew his role. They had big men that knew their role. They had bench players that knew their role. One basketball. You can't have everybody who wants to dominate. You don't want any. You can't let everyone shoot every shot they want to take. One basketball means you got to have guys who know their role and live within their role. I think if you put James Harden on the Los Angeles Clippers, I think it would be a shit show. One basketball and four players that want the basketball in their hands. I think it makes it really hard for the Clippers to succeed. I don't think it would be a successful roster. I think it's a team that sounds good in an NBA 2K game, but in reality, in 2023, 2024, I don't think it's an organization that would get past the second round of the playoffs. Kyle Klein, Dame wants to be Mr. Loyal. He needs to be Mr. Winner. Well, if he wanted to be Mr. Winner, he had the choice 2 years ago. Don't sign that contract extension. Dame wanted the money. Dame wanted the money, and now he wants to be a winner. Pick one. Pick one. You can't have both. Not in Portland, at least. And if they want Harden, I feel like Zubac has to be a part of it. I agree. So you lose your center. And by the way, keep in mind, everybody, the new CBA in the NBA makes it so much harder to add these former star, these former quality player who become, league minimum players. It's a lot harder to sign these guys. The CBA wants to prevent that from happening. So because of that, I think the Clippers could be putting themselves in a really tough spot. By the way, IP Shade is right. IP Shade 45 is so right. LA is a Laker town. It's going to be a Laker town until the end of time. I don't care if the Clippers build a new stadium. I don't even care if the Clippers win a title. I think LA is going to be Laker center for the rest of time. That's just me. I lived there for a few years. The Dodgers can win. 2 football teams can move into town. USC can win national championships. There is no team that matters more to Southern California and specifically to Los Angeles than the Lakers. It's just a fact, folks. It's just a fact. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Hope you're enjoying the show. Without any sports today, this is a rant-centric show, so I hope you guys are enjoying the rants. And even if you don't, would love to hear your comments, your reactions. So no matter the platform you're watching on, TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, or Kick, make sure you hit the like button on our video. Make sure you write in your comments, your reactions to our take. Would love to hear your take on whether it's the ESPYs, the Yankees now having a sponsor on their jersey. Yuck. Cardinals being sellers at the deadline, or James Harden being determined to join the Los Angeles Clippers. Would love to hear your takes on all of it. So make sure you're hitting that like button. And of course, make sure you're sharing your comments, your rants, your takes with us in the comments section. Okay, since did you hear about Twitter beef between all the corners, Sauce, Asante, Rivas? I did see that. And I do have a take on it. Here's my take. Asante Samuel needs to shut the frick up. Asante Samuel is one of the most overrated cornerbacks of the last 25 years. And Asante Samuel talks so much shit about Bill Belichick, about the Patriots, about other corners. Asante Samuel talks and talks. He talks so much bullshit. Let's be honest. Asante Samuel was a cheater. I don't mean a cheater in that he cheated the sport, he took drugs or anything. I mean on every single route he covered, he cheated to try to get a pick. He was a do or die. Famously, it was said about Asante Samuel, he's Mr. Double Move. If you put a double move on him, you beat him every time because he is looking to pick your pocket with the interception. Asante Samuel, was he that good a corner, or was he someone who he had one focus? I'm going to cheat. I'm going to try and cut that first move. I either get the pick or I am beat like a bad child. I think Asante Samuel is overrated as a corner, and I think that his success is so largely credited to not just Bill Belichick, but obviously the New England Patriots. Asante Samuel, why you got so much hate for the Pats? Why you got so much hate for Bill? And why do you act like you're Deion frickin' Sanders? You weren't that good as a corner. You racked up plenty of interceptions, but again, purely because you were always trying to cut that first move by a wide receiver. You double moved Asante Samuel. We call that a deep ball touchdown for the offense. So, first of all, I thought Asante Samuel going after Sauce Gardner was just unnecessary. Sauce wasn't bringing any beef. Sauce was just being himself, and Asante started to stir the pot. Okay. Then Darrelle Revis got in the conversation, and I want to give so much credit to Darrelle Revis. First of all, Darrelle Revis is one of the top 5 cornerbacks of all time in my estimation. So when he says something about a cornerback or when he says something about the position, I take it as gospel because Darrelle Revis was that good a corner. He was that good a player. So when Darrelle Revis got in this and started putting Asante Samuel in his place, I was all about it. I thought it was right. I think of all the corners we've talked about in this little Twitter beef, Asante Samuel is the only one who looks like he's got his head up his butt fumble. Darrelle Revis, I agree with almost everything that he said. Sauce Gardner, dude didn't do anything wrong. Dude was just like living his life, and Asante Samuel decided to blow him up. I think Sauce Gardner is going to go down as one of the best corners of his generation and could easily be one of the better corners that we've seen over the last few decades. But Darrelle Revis is one of the best cornerbacks of all time. So that's 2v1 with Asante Samuel, the worst of all three. Asante, zip it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your takes. Clearly, you are just angry. You are a disgruntled man. And as Darrelle Revis brought up, Asante Samuel, at least to the people in New England, will be largely remembered for the interception that he didn't catch. A pick that should have happened in the Super Bowl against the Giants with the undefeated Patriots. And what did he do? He dropped it. It went right through his hands. It absolutely cost the Patriots the game. Now, I'm sure there were other things that cost the game. Helmet catch. But that said, Asante Samuel, why don't you just shut the frick up? Because everything you have to say isn't worth listening to. I'm on Team Sauce. I'm on Team Revis Island. I think Asante needs to shut up. Yeah, I saw Candyman. It started because the PFF rankings and Sauce wasn't near the top. First of all, I thought those Pro Football Focus will put out some things every now and then that I understand is like their metrics are supporting it. It's just stupid. Like Pro Football Focus will design metrics and algorithms that literally like tell you something that your eyes go, no, that's bullshit. Sauce Gardner is a top 5 cornerback in the league. The eye test tells you all you need to know. All you need to know. By the way, Tariq Woolen is a good corner. I'm not saying Tariq Woolen is better or worse than Sauce Gardner. They're both really good corners. But if you tried to tell me right now that Sauce Gardner isn't one of the best cornerbacks in the league, I'll tell you don't know cornerback play, you don't know football, and you haven't seen enough Sauce Gardner. Because the dude is a shutdown corner in an age where there aren't that many. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We are bringing the fire today. I am fired the frick up, as you can tell, bringing nothing but hot takes and rants. That's what we're doing here today. No real sports going on, so wanted to make sure I bring the heat. Jorge, what's good? What's good? Hope you're having a great day, Jorge. ESPN dropped their corner ranks, and they didn't have Woolen in the Jeez Louise. Okay, clearly we may need to do our own cornerback rankings here at Butt Fumble Sports, because Pro Football Focus got it wrong. Seattle or ESPN got it wrong. I think Woolen and Sauce Gardner are two of the better cornerbacks in the league. So, Chris Elder, I'll agree with that. I'll agree that Miami has one that has the best duo in the league. I'll agree with that. However, do I think Jalen Ramsey is a top 5 cornerback in the NFL right now? No, I don't. I do think that the combo of Howard and Ramsey in Miami makes them the best 1-2 combination of corners in the NFL. But do I think that Jalen Ramsey has fallen outside the top 5 right now? Probably. Again, that also may be skewed slightly towards, or maybe negatively impacted because the Rams were so bad last year. But do I think that Miami has the best 1-2 cornerback play? Yes, but I wouldn't put Jalen Ramsey in my top 5. MVP Metcalf's telling me ESPN had Diggs. By the way, Diggs is kind of overrated in my estimation. Denzel Ward, also overrated. Terrell, okay, over Woolen. Don't like it. MVP Metcalf, I don't agree with that list at all. Would I rather have Diggs and Gilmore or Ramsey and Howard? Ramsey and Howard, absolutely. Gilmore isn't quite the player that he was a few years ago. He is a little slower. He is a little older. So even though he's good, he's like a B-plus corner at this point. I don't think he's as good as Ramsey. I think Howard's better than Diggs. I think Diggs is a little overrated. A lot of interceptions, but overall, I still feel like he can get burned. So I'd actually rather have Ramsey and Howard than Diggs and Gilmore at the cornerback position. The secondary for the Dolphins is loaded. MVP Metcalf, we are absolutely sleeping on Woolen and Witherspoon, but until we see Witherspoon on the field, you can't put them too high. The point is, though, MVP Metcalf, if I had to start a franchise and you're telling me I took my corners from the same team and took them both at the same time, I actually would probably take the Seattle Seahawks cornerbacks, not for this year, but let's say for the next 5-10 years. Who would I want the two cornerbacks to be if I could build a team around them? It'd be Woolen and Witherspoon. Again, I actually thought the Jets should have tried to get Christian Gonzalez. Can you imagine? Sauce Gardner on one side of the field, Christian Gonzalez on the other. Yikes. Where are you throwing on that field? That said, I do think the Seahawks have built an outstanding cornerback room, so I think the Seahawks are in a really good spot there. Jorge, are you kidding? Miami does not have the best cornerback duo. Jorge, who you got then? Jorge showing some love to Jair Alexander, who definitely fell off last year for me. Not quite as good as he was in a couple of years. Jorge, who you taking then? Who is your number one? Let's put that out there. Guys, who do you think is which team has the number one cornerback duo? I think it's Miami. Some of you guys are saying Dallas. MVP Metcalf's a homer and saying Seattle, even though it's not a bad pick. Put out your pick right now. Who do you guys think, which team in the NFL has the best 1-2 cornerback punch in the NFL? Chris, I think the Dolphins could have the potential to be a top 3 team overall. Ultimately, I don't think they will be. On paper, they may be, but I actually think once we start playing games, I don't think that's going to be the case. Guys, I put out this question to you. Which team in the NFL do you believe has the number one cornerback duo? We're getting a good debate on this. I think it's Miami right now, at least entering the season. We'll obviously see over the course of the year if that holds true. So share that your opinions with us here at Butt Fumble Sports. As always, I also want to make sure you guys are aware, if you guys want to follow us, if you guys want to be a part of more of our content, make sure you follow us. Make sure you hit us up across our different channels. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and of course on Twitter. So make sure you're following us. Make sure you hit that like button and make sure you obviously subscribe to our channels. If you really think about it, Philly, that straight lockdown with Slay and Bradbury, very interesting. That's what Candyman said on TikTok. That's what Jorge is saying on YouTube as well. Jorge is saying it's Eagles, Jets, and Cowboys over the Dolphins any day. Oof. Don't agree with you there. At the cornerback position, maybe I give you the Eagles. That actually was a really good take by Jorge. Really good take as well by Candyman. I could see the Eagles. I'll give you the Eagles. That said, I think the Cowboys cornerbacks are slightly overrated. I still like Diggs and Gilmore. I think they're just slightly overrated given their age and everything else. I'll also say the Jets, they have a great number one. Their number 2 is good, but I'd actually still rather take the Dolphins 1-2 punch. Candyman, glad that you made sure that we knew there was no bias there. Chris is obviously bringing the bias, though. Right, I think the Dolphins are top 3 at worst. Probably top 2 is right. If you wanted to say the Eagles number 1, okay. But I think the Cowboys, saying them number 1, I think it makes you think Gilmore is closer to the Defensive Player of the Year award than he is to what he is right now. By the way, Broncos is pretty good. Patrick Surtain may be my favorite cornerback in the NFL right now. Sauce Gardner is a close second. So definitely a big fan of Patrick Surtain the second. Okay, guys, we have about a half hour left of our show. I wanted to do another mock draft for you guys. We did a mock draft yesterday, our first mock draft of the off season. So, guys, I wanted to do another mock draft with you guys today. So we will do another mock draft. Now, yesterday's mock draft was a snake draft. ESPN was the scoring points, and we did a 12-team league. I'm going to change it up now. I'm going to do a 10-team league. So this is going to be a different mock draft than we did yesterday. Yesterday, I was drafting 5th in a 12-team league with ESPN points. Today's mock draft, we will be doing a snake draft. We will be using ESPN scoring, and we will do a 10-team. I will randomize now. We're going to do the mock draft right now. Candyman, you can't join on this one. I'm just going through a mock draft just to explain to you guys how I make my selections. If you guys actually want to join our fantasy league this year or our subscriber survivor pool, make sure you subscribe. Hit that star on your TikTok live screen. Make sure you subscribe right now. So make sure you guys are following us. MVP Metcalf, yeah, we will do a mock draft for you guys to join, but make sure you guys are subscribing. We're going to do it for subscribers, so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on TikTok Live so you can be a part of our fantasy league, you can do mock drafts with us, and you can be a part of our survivor pool. We will do a survivor pool for subscribers throughout the NFL season. If you guys don't know what a survivor pool is, you have to pick a different team to win every single week. We'll see if you guys make it through the year without a loser. So everybody, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Now, let's do our mock draft. Let's randomize our order. We're going to pick 8th out of the 10. Yuck. Let's get going, though. Okay, so this is, again, a 10-team league. And I will be picking 8th. So, looking at who went ahead, McCaffrey, Jefferson, Chase, Chubb, Taylor, Hill, and Barkley were the first 7 players off the board. Actually, have no problem with that. Still plenty of talent left out there. Now, yesterday, I did take Austin Eckler number 1. It's exactly where I'm going to go today, everybody. Still like Austin Eckler. Still like him a lot. Some of you guys may be considering Bijan Robinson at this spot. I'd actually wait. I want to see if, because I'm picking 8th in a 10-team league, can I actually swing it around? I take Eckler first and see if I could get Bijan Robinson in the second round. So I will go with Austin Eckler right here, drafting him. Unfortunately, Bijan Robinson went right before our pick. If Bijan had still been there, I would have taken him. But as I said yesterday, I'm doubling down on my running backs. I want to take 2 running backs, really own that position early in the draft. The next one I'm going to go with, actually, is Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson, he isn't splitting touches with Damian Harris this year. Like I mentioned yesterday, good opportunity to take him with no Damian Harris, Bill O'Brien back. I think it's going to be a good opportunity. So I will take Ramondre Stevenson, and again, doubling down on my running backs. Now, let's look at who the players were selected between my 2 picks. Stevenson, then Kelsey went. No run on tight ends, just the 1 tight end. But we did have a couple of Chiefs taken. Mahomes and Kelsey both off the board. Now, if I had to go in any direction here, I would consider Josh Allen. I would consider him. So just putting that out there. Usually I don't like to take a quarterback with my 3rd overall pick, but is someone that I'm considering. Let's quickly look at the wide receiver position. Garrett Wilson up there, Chris Olave, but the one I actually really like, believe it or not, is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I might take Amon-Ra St. Brown with the 3rd overall pick here. That's a pretty good play. I can double down on my wide receivers, but I'm going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown. A few of you, again, might think this is a little high. I think it's a strong play. Really like him in that Lions offense. Think there's a good opportunity for it. Jorge, your point about never trust a Patriots running back is false. That's a false notion right there. Patriots running backs are good to play when they don't have obvious competition. Sure, when you're in a James White, Shane Vereen kind of world, I actually think that's a time where you don't want to take them. But when they have a true number 1, the Patriots are actually pretty good at feeding their number 1 running back. So I like Ramondre Stevenson this year. He can be a running back. He can also be a receiver. So I like the opportunity there. Candyman likes seeing Olave high in the rankings. I agree with you. That said, let's now look. Tough to take here. I really want to take Lamar Jackson. I talked about him yesterday. I'm going to make the move on it. I'm going to take Lamar Jackson here. Again, might be a little high for a quarterback, but I love the team that I'm building right now. Lamar Jackson, I think, could have an MVP year. Austin Eckler has been a fantasy all-star for the past 2 years. Stevenson, I think, is going to emerge as maybe a top 10, top 8 running back, so getting him as my RB2 is pretty strong. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown is my number 1. I like him, and more importantly, I kind of like the division he's in as well. Bears don't have a great defense. Obviously, the Vikings, god-awful defense. Sure, he'll be facing Jair Alexander when they play the Packers, but I still think Amon-Ra St. Brown could put up good points throughout the season. So, those are my first few picks. Seeing who was taken once I took Lamar Jackson, T. Higgins came off the board. Candyman, I agree with you. Good pick. He is in a contract year, but I wanted to get that quarterback resolved. Devontae Smith went. A couple more running backs went, but there was definitely a run on the wide receiver position. A little disappointed to see Alexander Madison go when he did. He's actually someone that I might want to pick up as my third running back if he had still been on the board. That said, I'm going to double down on the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs as my third overall running back, I think is a really good play. He's the number 1 running back left. I take Jahmyr Gibbs. I did yesterday. You guys can tell there are certain players that I'm really high on. I drafted them yesterday. I'm going back to them today. Eckler, Gibbs, 2 players I really like. I know that I enter a bit of a bye week hell with week 9, but that's not important because my running backs have 3 different bye weeks. So I'm in a really good position with my running backs if I took Eckler, Stevenson, and Gibbs. Those are 3 guys that are versatile. They could be first down backs. They could be third down backs. They could be red zone backs. So I like all 3 of these guys right here. Good plays, good finds. That's a good roster that we're building so far. Now, let's see who went after. There was, again, bit of a run on running back right after. Mixon Connor, George Kittle. DeAndre Hopkins went. By the way, if you guys haven't checked the odds over the last 24 hours, the Tennessee Titans were I believe it was plus 500 to sign DeAndre Hopkins 2 days ago. They're minus 300 now, so very interesting. Jorge, so you would draft 2 running backs first, and in the third round you would draft Devontae or T. Absolutely, Jorge, that's a really good call, but I will say this. I think the running back position is the most important position to go after. The running back position is critically important. There is no position that produces as many points, that has less depth. Wide receiver, we can find wide receivers. Quarterbacks, you can find quarterbacks. Even tight ends, you can find them. Running back is so hard. Running back is the position that if I had to invest the most amount of draft capital into it early, no brainer, it would be the running back position. Get running backs early, get them often. You would rather have too many running backs and you have to kind of be a good GM and figure out who to start each week than having too few and trying to pick up someone off the waiver wire. I know there may be a few every year where you could stumble into a good waiver wire play, but for the most part, running back is brutally hard to find a good player off the waiver wire. Get stars, lock them in, don't overthink this one. That said, love what was just said. I'm with Amari Cooper here as well. I do like Pacheco. If I wanted it, I would consider going with 4 running backs. As I just mentioned, you can't have enough stud running backs. So to get the starter for the Chargers, the Patriots, the Lions, and the Chiefs, those are going to be 4 decent offenses. Probably the Patriots is going to be the worst one, but Ramondre Stevenson is going to be the number 1 option in that offense, so he is a good play. But if you went with Pacheco, I wouldn't hate it. I actually think it's a decent play. However, I'm going exactly where Jorge's thinking. I'm going exactly where Candyman is thinking. It's Amari Cooper for me on this one. And the reason I'm going with Amari Cooper, if I look at the other wide receivers available, I'm not big on Ayuk. Mike Williams I like, but not that crazy. I like DJ Moore, but I wouldn't take him here. The wide receiver out of the group here, it's Amari Cooper. No brainer for me. I think Deshaun Watson's going to have a bounce back year. Like the opportunity of him and Cooper developing that chemistry a little bit more. So I think Watson with a full year makes Cooper a good play, adding it to my team. So there you go, everybody. This is the team we've drafted through the first 6 picks. I have my quarterback, Lamar Jackson. I think he could be a fringe MVP candidate. Austin Eckler, Stevenson, and Gibbs are 3 running backs. Love those plays. Additionally, I got St. Brown and Cooper. I think those are pretty strong for my wide receivers. Certainly not disliking the team I've built so far. Now we're starting to get into a bit of a tricky spot because who do I want to take? I want to take DJ Moore. I want to take DeAndre Swift. But is it time to go after a tight end? If I'm not going after a tight end right now, I will have with the next pick. So one of my next 2 picks is going to be a tight end. What I would say is, because I know one of my next 2 picks is going to be a tight end, Ingram, Freiermuth, those are both good plays. So I actually think I have a little bit of room. I don't think Ingram and Freiermuth are both going to come off the board in the next, let's say, 4 picks. So I actually am going to risk it. I won't take a tight end right now, and I'm going to go back to the well and try and get another running back. You guys, again, might go, you're crazy, Butt Fumble Sports. You're drafting so many running backs. Yeah, no kidding. And I'm going to take DeAndre Swift. Now, I know you guys are going to go, but DeAndre Swift is splitting touches with Rashad Penny. DeAndre Swift's going to be the number 1. He's going to be the number 1 running back. He's going to be the primary running back when it comes to passing downs. So I could see him on 1st. I could see him on 3rd. And again, he's my 4th running back. So really good depth. Here's the only concern. DeAndre Swift. What is his bye week? His bye week is week 10. My running backs have a week 9, a week 11, and a week 5 bye. That fits in perfectly. So DeAndre Swift, again, I'm not drafting him to be my RB2 or my RB3. If I were, wouldn't feel as good about it. But when he's my 4th running back on my team and I'm getting that kind of depth at that position, that's a home run pick. That is a winner for me. So I add DeAndre Swift. And again, you guys may go, hey, Butt Fumble Sports, too many running backs. No such thing. A number 1 running back is so valuable. Love the opportunity to take Eckler, Stevenson, Gibbs, and Swift in my first 8 picks. No brainer. First 7 picks. Love it. Okay, now it's about tight end, and it's Freiermuth. So on the tight end board, Evan Ingram did come off. Like I said, I thought there were 2 tight ends I really liked in that last round. Ingram, Freiermuth. I thought one of them would still be available. Freiermuth is still available. I think Freiermuth's going to have a really good year. I think the Steelers' offense is going to be better than it was last year. But you saw last year, Kenny Pickett and Freiermuth started to develop that chemistry that young quarterbacks need. Find that safety valve that's the tight end, work the middle of the field, work him in the red zone. I like Freiermuth this year, so adding him. Freiermuth is going to be my tight end. So here's the team we've built so far through my first 8 picks. Now, one of the things I do like, my starting lineup, only week 9 has 2 players. Obviously, they're on the same team. So I do need another wide receiver, another player to slot in for week 9. But look at how well I'm doing on my bye weeks. Okay, week 5 as well with Eckler and Amari Cooper. But again, I'm not overly loaded on one bye week. I have good depth, especially at the running back position. Now, let's just look at where the picks went after I took Freiermuth. There was a run on wide receiver, which upsets me a little bit. I definitely still need another wide receiver. So should I have waited on Freiermuth to go after one of these other wide receivers? That might be something you guys could question me about, but I thought it was more important to lock in my starting tight end more than anything else. But I will go back to the wide receiver position right now. Kadarius Toney is an interesting one, bit of a flyer. I'm not about George Pickens. I'm just not big on him this year, not high on him. Gabe Davis is someone I talked about yesterday. I kind of like that play. I think Gabe Davis could actually have a good year. I'm not necessarily pushing you guys towards it, but not someone I dislike either. There are also a couple wide receivers that I really like who are rookies. Zay Flowers, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Both of those guys will probably be gone over the next 2 rounds. Do I go with Kadarius Toney? I mentioned this yesterday. I took Sky Moore on a flyer, and some of you guys were like, Sky Moore, I'm not crazy about him. And I said, yeah, but who in the Chiefs offense is going to put up yards? Who's going to be a wide receiver that Patrick Mahomes goes to? For that reason, same thinking around Kadarius Toney. I think Toney could have a good year simply by kind of default. The Chiefs are going to be a good passing team. Who are they throwing the ball to? You can't throw it to Travis Kelce every time. I think Kadarius Toney is a player I'm willing to look into. Only thing I want to check here is the bye week. He has a week 10 bye. My two wide receivers so far don't. So this would fit in well. I'll add Kadarius Toney. He will be my first wide receiver on the bench. Now looking on the run after, George Pickens went right after. Fine, was perfectly okay with that. Jorge, why are you so high on Pat Freiermuth? He showed me exactly what I needed to last year. He's very consistent. He's sturdy physically. He works the middle of the field well. He can play decently against a safety, but he's really good against the linebacker. And maybe more importantly, I think the Steelers' offense is going to take one step forward. So I do like the idea of Kenny Pickett another year working with Freiermuth. By the way, we have some breaking news here at Butt Fumble Sports. The New York Jets have signed Quinnen Williams to a 4-year extension, $66 million guaranteed, $96 million overall. It is the second largest contract ever for a defensive tackle. So there you go, everybody. The New York Jets have re-signed Quinnen Williams to an extension, so he will remain in Gang Green for the next 5 years. This year plus a 4-year extension. So the New York Jets aren't just on Hard Knocks, but they have locked in one of their best defensive players. Really good day if you're a New York Jets fan. By the way, I completely agree with you, IP Shade 45. If you're not getting one of the top 5 tight ends, you really can take a flyer on somebody. I think Freiermuth is a fringe number 5 tight end, so I actually like that I got him where I did. But I do think tight end position is either you're drafting a little bit high, but you're locking in a really good player, or you might as well take a flyer on somebody. Okay. By the way, looking at the team I have right now, I have 4 running backs. I have 3 wide receivers. I want to add to my wide receiver depth. I told you I liked Gabe Davis before. I still like him, and he's still on the board. He's still available. And by the way, do I have any wide receivers with a Week 13 bye? No, I don't. So I like Gabe Davis here. I'll take Gabe Davis in that Buffalo offense. Think it's a good play. Now, that said, I would have probably waited and taken Jackson Smith and Jigba. The only reason I didn't is he has a Week 5 bye, same as Amari Cooper. So I actually like Gabe Davis as a bench player more because I know he'll, with barring injury, I know he'll be available to fill in for the bye weeks of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Amari Cooper. That's why I like Gabe Davis. And between Toney and Davis, I'm betting on 2 of the best offenses in football. One thing you guys should be thinking about when you draft your team, there are star players. Players we know they're going to score their points. Great. You can put them in their own category. Then there's a whole bucket of players where you go, I don't know if they're good or they're bad, but they're going to be on a really good offense. I'm someone that likes to bet not on the player, but as much on the team. I'm going to bet that the Chiefs have a good passing game. I'm going to bet that the Bills have a good passing game. So Toney, Davis, they're kind of the same kind of bet. I'm betting that Mahomes and Allen are going to be 2 of the best passers this year. There are only so many places they can go with the ball. So Toney and Davis both have opportunities to play above the projected points that's put out there by ESPN. That's why I'm taking the chance on both of them. If only one of them hits for me, great. I'm betting on 2 good offenses. One of them should play through. Now, let's keep the fun going. Where do I go now? I've really got my depth at wide receiver. I've got my depth at running back. Where do I go from here? I could get another backup quarterback. Not necessary. I can draft that later. I could look at my kicker or my tight end if I'm getting a little bit too early. But I may want to add some depth at tight end, actually. And the player that I like that's available at tight end is still there. I'm going to go with Gerald Everett. As long as he doesn't have the same bye week, Gerald Everett, Week 5, Freiermuth, Week 6, I'm drafting another tight end. So now I have really good depth at wide receiver. I have good depth at running back. I have good depth at tight end. As much as you guys don't think about your bench, I think the bench is where you win a lot of your weeks. Being able to slot in players, you don't have to go to the waiver wire, you don't need to make a trade. If you build a good bench, that can sustain you right up into a regular season or playoff championship. So everybody, don't neglect the bench. Don't, if you're in an auction league, don't overspend on your starters. Be aware that the bench often plays a massive role in who ends up winning your fantasy league. Now, we have 5 positions remaining. I would consider going back to the running back position and getting a 5th running back. If I were to load up on any position for 5 players, running back would probably be it. Again, quarterback's really interesting to me. Bye week for Lamar Jackson's week 13. Tua's bye week is week 10. Kirk Cousins' bye week is week 13. So I don't like Kirk Cousins. He has the same bye week as Lamar Jackson. But Tua, I'd be kind of curious to take Tua on a flyer as my backup to Lamar Jackson. Again, I'd want to see who he's playing in week 13. I want to make sure the opponent that Tua plays in week 13 gives him an opportunity to get a lot of points. But I would consider it. Tua Tagovailoa, you argue, is the 11th best quarterback in the NFL, according to the fantasy rankings. So you're saying I get 2 of the top 10, top 11 quarterbacks on my team? I'd do that. So I know his injury history is a little bit worrisome, but I'm actually making Tua my backup quarterback, locking him in, doesn't have the same bye week as Lamar Jackson. And again, maybe play that off the matchups. If Tua has a matchup against a shit defense, great, you can start him. Otherwise, Lamar Jackson is your write it in permanent starting quarterback. So pretty good roster we're building, getting close to where we want to draft our kicker and our defense. I do draft those a tick earlier than a lot of people just because I don't want to get shut out. So let's look at our defense. So the first defense is available. I'll take the 49ers just like I did yesterday. So for all those who are curious, taking the 49ers defense, locking in what I believe is the number 1 defense in the NFL. So again, defense and kicker might not be valued by a lot of you, but they certainly deliver a lot of points. So if I can lock in the number 1 kicker and the number 1 defense into my lineup, why not? Over two bench players who probably won't get that much playing time anyways, I'll definitely take that. Let's go back now to kicker. Is Justin Tucker there? Yes, he is. I'll take him. I understand he's getting a little bit long in the tooth. Still like him. So I've got the number 1 defense and the number 1 kicker to go with a lineup that features Lamar Jackson, Austin Eckler, Ramondre Stevenson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Amari Cooper, Pat Freiermuth, Jahmyr Gibbs. It's a really good team right now. Good depth. I'm not overly reliant on any single player. I have a lot of options week to week. That's something I really like. By the way, that's a great point by IP Shade 45. Make sure you guys are aware of how many points you guys get for each reward. So Lamar Jackson, one of the reasons I like him, I think he's going to put up good numbers from a passing standpoint. I still think he's going to be a runner. So I like Lamar Jackson in a number of different ways. Okay, only 2 picks remaining in the mock draft. Where do I go from here? Probably back to the running back position. Again, I'll probably take a flyer on somebody. Chuba Hubbard is someone that I would consider here. I already have Ramondre Stevenson, so I actually would consider taking Pierre Strong, and that's what I'm going to do. So the reason I'm doing this, and this goes to you haters, by the way, for all those who are like, don't take a Patriots running back, get depth. Get a backup running back. If you can, get the backup running back. If Ramondre Stevenson goes out with injury, I have Pierre Strong. So when you hit these final 2 positions on the bench, you may want to take someone who, if the starter gets hurt, you don't need to be scrambling to the waiver wire. You already have him on the team. So that's why I just took Pierre Strong. Probably a bad pick for a lot of you guys, but I'm doing it because I'm playing to a strategy. Additionally, let's look at wide receiver. kind of same idea. Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm getting the backup to Amari Cooper. So the reason I'm making these two moves to fill out my bench is it doesn't negatively impact my overall team when it comes to bye weeks. I have players that can fill in for those other starters. But let's say Amari Cooper gets hurt. Donovan Peoples-Jones would vault to the number one. If I like Ramondre Stevenson but he gets hurt, Pierre Strong becomes the number one. So with those final two picks of a draft, you're really looking for players that are going to complement what you already have. You're not going to get any studs. You're not going to get any diamonds in the rough at that point. You're going to get someone who, if the starter gets hurt, they get inserted into that number one starting position. I kind of want to do the same. So that's my roster. Let's see how it grades me. It has me pretty low. It does not like my team at all. Let's see number 9. Wow, number 9 did well. Allen, Henry, Robinson, Wilson, Hopkins. Wow, that's a pretty good team. And Jets defense, no wonder they like that team. Hurts, Connor, White. No, that team's dog shit. Don't like that team. Overloaded. But anyways, they didn't like my team. I like it, though. I think that's a pretty good roster. So let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you like the fantasy team that we just drafted. We will throw this mock draft up on our YouTube page once the show concludes. Again, make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're following to Butt Fumble Sports on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Kick. We will do mock drafts all the time over the next 9 weeks to get you guys ready for your NFL season, for your fantasy football season. Again, the mock draft that we just did was a 10-team league with a snake draft. So every day we'll try to do a different mock draft, different conditions. That way you guys can know who we're identifying as players to avoid, who are we drafting. That way you guys can be made smarter as you prepare for your fantasy draft. Believe it or not, everybody, that's our show. We have been through 2 hours of rants, interviews, and of course a mock draft. I actually do have a trivia question, but I'll bring it tomorrow. We'll save it for one more day. Want to give a big shout out to my producer. Thank you so much for helping me behind the scenes. Want to give a shout out to our audience, everyone who watches, IP Shade 45, Jorge, Candyman, Boss Lady Murr, Robert Nance 6. Thank you so much for joining this incredible community. MVP Metcalf, great to see you in today's show. Chris Elder Jones, thank you for joining us today. Loved hearing your takes about the Miami Dolphins. Kyle Klein, wonderful to see you on YouTube today. Really appreciate you joining the show. Hope you guys are enjoying us every single day, bringing good sports talk to you. Butt Fumble Sports is a sports content company built by sports fans for sports fans. And again, if you guys want to join the network, if you guys want to get off the couch and into the game, you guys know what to do. Make sure you subscribe to our channels, make sure you like our videos, and contact us. Hit us up at buttfumblesports.com. We love hearing from you guys every single day. Want to hear your feedback, want to hear your takes, want to get you guys engaged. So if you guys want to get off the sidelines and into the game, reach out to us at Butt Fumble Sports across our platforms. We are here for it. As always, I want to give a big shout out to everybody behind the scenes here at Butt Fumble Sports. And as I say at the end of every show, I hope you guys stay healthy. I hope you stay safe. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon and evening. And I hope you are back tomorrow because we have, thank the sports gods, games tomorrow, MLB games tomorrow. So everybody, make sure you're with us. We are live every single day at 12 p.m. Eastern. I'll say it again. We are live every single day at 12 p.m. EST. So make sure you guys join us every single day at 12 p.m. 12 p.m. EST. We are live no matter the day. Doesn't matter, weekday, weekend, we are live every single day giving out sports rants, giving out good picks, good information, and hopefully entertaining you guys as you get ready for the day in sports every day. Again, we are live every day at 12 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you again tomorrow, Friday, for our